I always believed that if something was wrong in my marriage, I would be the first to know. I thought I was a good husband, hardworking, loyal, always making sure my wife, Amanda, had everything she needed. Sure, we had our ups and downs, but I never thought things were that bad until the night I overheard her say 6 words that shattered my world. I hate being with him. It wasn't supposed to be a night of revelations. It was just another Thursday. I had finished a long shift at work and was heading home, exhausted but excited to spend the evening with Amanda. She told me she was going out with her friends for a girls' night, so I figured I'd surprise her by picking up her favorite dessert on the way home, cheesecake with raspberry drizzle. When I got home, the house was quiet, but then I heard voices coming from the backyard. Amanda was out on the patio, sitting with her best friend Laura. They were drinking wine, laughing. I was about to step outside when Amanda sighed and said, "I hate being with him. I don't even know why I'm still married." I froze. Laura let out a surprised laugh. "Then why don't you just leave?" Amanda snorted. "Because I like the benefits. He pays for everything. He's predictable, and honestly, I don't feel like starting over. Plus, he's too nice to ever leave me, no matter what I do." I felt my stomach drop. My hands clenched around the box of cheesecake. "So you're just using him?" Laura chuckled. Amanda took another sip of wine and shrugged. "Basically, it's not like I love him. I tolerate him. And let's be real, he's boring. He's never going to be some exciting, dominant guy. He just works, comes home, and does what a husband is supposed to do. But passion, adventure, fun? Forget it." I had heard enough. I backed away from the patio, my mind racing. Every memory of our marriage suddenly felt like a lie. I wanted to burst in, confront her, demand to know how long she had felt this way. But something inside me told me to stop. Instead, I did something she never expected. I left. I didn't slam the door. I didn't make a scene. I simply turned around, walked out the front door, and drove away. I had no plan, no destination, just an overwhelming need to disappear from a life I no longer recognized. But if Amanda thought I was just going to quietly accept this, she had no idea what was coming next. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to get out. The words Amanda said kept replaying in my head, like a broken record. "I tolerate him. He's boring. He'll never leave me." That last part burned the most. I drove aimlessly for hours, my grip on the steering wheel tightening every time her voice echoed in my head. I ended up on the outskirts of town, pulling into the parking lot of some 24-hour diner. I hadn't eaten since lunch, but food was the last thing on my mind. I just needed somewhere to sit, somewhere that wasn't my car, somewhere I could breathe. The place was nearly empty, just a few truckers scattered around. The waitress, an older woman with kind eyes, poured me a cup of coffee without me even asking. "You look like a man who just got hit by a truck," she said, her voice raspy from years of smoking. I huffed out a humorless laugh. "Something like that." She didn't press, just patted my shoulder and walked away, letting me sit with my thoughts. And I had a lot of them. How long had she felt this way? Had our entire marriage been a lie? Was I really that blind? I started going over everything in my head, looking for signs I had missed. The times she had pulled away when I tried to kiss her. The way she never seemed excited to see me. The constant girls' nights that I never questioned. Had she been cheating? Or was I just that unappealing to her? The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. Not just at her, but at myself. I had spent years trying to be the perfect husband, making sure she was happy, comfortable, had everything she needed. And for what? To be tolerated? To be some safe option while she waited for something better? Screw that. I wasn't going to sit around and let this woman make a fool out of me. If she thought I was too predictable to leave, she was in for a rude awakening. I pulled out my phone, my fingers hovering over our shared banking app. Then, without hesitation, I transferred every last cent out of our joint account and into my personal one. Amanda wanted the benefits of being with me? Too bad. I wasn't going to confront her, not yet. No, I wanted to see what she would do when she realized I wasn't playing by her rules anymore. And just like that, a plan started forming in my head. She thought she knew me, thought I would just roll over and accept whatever crumbs of affection she decided to throw my way. But she was about to learn the hard way that I wasn't the man she thought I was. That night, sitting in that old diner with a lukewarm cup of coffee, I made a decision. I wasn't going back. Not yet. Not until I was ready. Amanda was going to wake up to an empty house, an empty bed, and an even emptier bank account. And that was just the beginning. I woke up to the sound of rain hammering against the motel window, the thin curtains barely blocking out the neon glow from the sign outside. Vacancy, low weekly rates. Not exactly the Ritz, but I didn't care. It was the first night in years I had actually slept without the suffocating weight of Amanda next to me, without the routine of trying to be the perfect husband for someone who only saw me as an obligation. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. I ignored it. I already knew who it was. Amanda had probably woken up to find the bed empty. Maybe at first she thought I had gone to work early. But then she would have checked the kitchen. No coffee brewing, no breakfast on the table like usual. She would have called my name, expecting me to come running like a trained dog. And when she finally checked our bank account, that's when the panic would set in. I took my time getting up, stretching out muscles that were still stiff from sleeping in a foreign bed. I wasn't in a rush. For once, I was the one in control. By the time I finally checked my phone, there were 13 missed calls from Amanda and 3 texts. Amanda, where are you? Amanda, call me now. Amanda, what did you do to our bank account? I smirked. Not our bank account, mine. I took a sip of the cheap motel coffee and let her stew for a while longer before finally texting back. Me? I figured you'd be relieved. You don't have to tolerate me anymore. It took less than a minute for her to call again. This time, I answered. What the hell, David? She snapped the moment I picked up. Where are you? I leaned back against the pillows, completely unbothered. Out. You emptied the account. Are you out of your mind? I let the silence stretch between us before calmly saying, I thought you didn't need me. That's what you told Laura, right? That you tolerate me. Silence. For the first time in years, Amanda had nothing to say. When she finally spoke again, her voice was lower, controlled, like she was trying to regain the upper hand. Look, whatever you think you heard. I heard exactly what you said. A sharp breath on the other end. David, come home. Let's talk. I chuckled. Oh, now you want to talk? Funny, you didn't seem too interested in talking when you were trashing me on the patio. This is ridiculous. Her voice was laced with frustration now, her carefully crafted mask slipping. We have bills to pay, David. You can't just run off. Figure it out. I cut her off. Since you're so independent and don't need me, I'm sure you'll be fine. Another silence. This one stretched so long that I almost thought she had hung up. But then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, Please. I almost laughed. Was she actually pleading? The same woman who had no problem humiliating me behind my back, the same woman who thought she had me wrapped around her finger? I wasn't buying it. I'll think about it, I said flatly before hanging up. I knew she'd call again, but what Amanda didn't know was that I wasn't coming home. Not yet. Because I had something else in mind. She thought I was weak, predictable, someone who would just keep providing for her no matter how little respect she gave me. It was time to show her exactly what happened when you underestimated the man you thought you knew. And I had the perfect way to do it. The next morning, I woke up feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Power. For so long, I had been a background character in my own marriage. I made the money, paid the bills, gave Amanda stability, and in return, I got the privilege of being tolerated. Not loved, not respected. Just tolerated. And now, for the first time, she was the one scrambling, panicking, realizing that her carefully constructed world was cracking at the seams. I stretched out in my motel bed, checking my phone. 17 missed calls, more texts, all varying between anger, desperation, and fake concern. Amanda, David, we need to talk. Amanda, I'm serious, call me now. Amanda, why are you doing this? Amanda, do you know how stupid you're being? Amanda, come home, let's act like adults. Amanda, David, answer me. I smirked. It was the fastest emotional shift I'd ever seen. At first, she was playing the worried wife. Then she tried guilt. Then came the insults, and now, begging. She didn't even know what tone to take with me anymore because, for once, she wasn't in control. I let her suffer for a few more hours while I got breakfast at a quiet diner down the road. The food was nothing special. But damn, it tasted better than any meal I'd had at home in years, maybe because for the first time, I wasn't sharing a table with a woman who secretly despised me. By noon, I decided it was time to answer. I called her, and she picked up on the first ring. David? She sounded breathless, like she had been pacing for hours. I kept my voice calm. Yes. A second of silence. She wasn't used to this version of me. She was waiting for me to be emotional, to shout, to give her something to work with. When I didn't, she let out a nervous laugh. Okay, look, I don't know what's going on, but we need to fix this. Come home, we'll talk it out. I leaned back in my seat, stirring my coffee. Fix what? I thought you were fine with how things were. You said you tolerated me, right? That I was boring, predictable? She exhaled sharply. David, I didn't mean that. You're taking things out of context. I hummed. Oh? So what did you mean? Because from where I'm sitting, it sounded pretty clear. I was venting, she said quickly, too quickly. It was just girl talk. You know how we say things we don't mean sometimes? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. No, Amanda, I don't. See? When I talk about my wife, I don't tell my friends that I hate being with her. David, I don't tell them that I'm only staying because it's convenient, that I see my marriage as a prison sentence. She inhaled sharply. It wasn't like that. I let a silence stretch between us before finally saying, You know what's funny? You thought I'd never leave, that I was too nice to ever walk away, no matter what you did. Guess you miscalculated. I was wrong. Wrong, okay? She snapped. Is that what you want to hear? That I was wrong? Fine. You got what you wanted. Now come home and let's work this out. I tilted my head. Work what out? According to you, there's nothing left to fix. She let out a frustrated noise. Jesus, David, do you want me to beg? Because I will. Just tell me what you want. And that was the moment I realized it. She wasn't upset because she missed me. She wasn't sorry because she had hurt me. She was panicking because she had lost control. Amanda had spent years assuming she had me wrapped around her finger, that no matter what she said or did, I would always be there. Steady, reliable, boring David. She had never prepared for the possibility that I could leave her. And now she had no idea what I was going to do next. I smirked, letting the silence drag on just long enough to make her squirm. Then, in the calmest voice possible, I said, "You'll find out soon enough." And I hung up. She called back immediately. I didn't answer. Because Amanda thought she was the puppeteer, but she had just learned the hard way. When you cut the strings of a puppet, sometimes it walks away, and sometimes it pulls the strings on you. I spent the rest of the day off the grid. No calls, no texts. I turned off my location sharing, deactivated my social media, and ignored every attempt Amanda made to reach me. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of knowing where I was or what I was thinking. Let her stew in the silence. Let her feel the void she never thought would exist. That evening, I decided to test something. I still had access to our home security system, cameras at the front door, the backyard, and the living room. I hadn't checked them all day, but something told me I needed to. So, as I sat in my motel room, drinking a beer, I pulled up the live feed on my phone. And there she was. Amanda was pacing the living room, phone in hand, face twisted with frustration. She was talking to someone, but I couldn't hear the audio. That didn't matter. What mattered was her body language, the nervous way she chewed her thumbnail, the way she kept glancing at the door like she expected me to walk through it at any second. Then, something interesting happened. She threw her phone onto the couch and stormed into the kitchen. When she came back, she was holding a bottle of wine. She poured herself a glass, no, 2, and sat down, rubbing her temples like she was trying to think her way out of this. A few minutes later, the doorbell rang. I leaned forward, narrowing my eyes at the screen. Amanda jumped up and smoothed out her clothes before opening the door. And that's when I saw him. Jake, our neighbor. The same Jake who always found an excuse to talk to my wife when I wasn't around. The same Jake who had once told me, "Man, if I had a wife as hot as yours, I'd never leave the house." Amanda stepped aside, letting him in without hesitation. She didn't look surprised. She looked relieved, like she had been waiting for him. I clenched my jaw, forcing myself to stay calm. I wasn't going to jump to conclusions. Maybe he was just there to check on her. Maybe. Then she hugged him, not just a friendly hug, a long hug, the kind where she pressed her face into his neck and sighed. I exhaled slowly, staring at the screen. Oh. So this was what she did when she thought I wasn't coming back. She poured him a drink. They sat close, too close, on the couch. He put a hand on her knee. She didn't move it away. I tightened my grip on my phone. I could end this right now, drive back, walk through that front door and see how fast they jumped apart. But no, that wasn't the plan. I needed to see what happened next. I watched for another hour, my pulse steady, my mind clearer than it had been in days. Then, finally, I saw what I needed to see. She kissed him. Just a soft brush of lips at first, testing the waters. Then, when he didn't pull away, she deepened it. And that was it. The final nail in the coffin. Amanda wasn't just tolerating me. She had options. She had an exit strategy. She wasn't panicking because she had lost me. She was panicking because she had lost control over me. I shut off the feed and set my phone down. And for the first time since I'd walked out that door, I smiled. Because now I had everything I needed. and Amanda had no idea what was coming. I didn't react immediately. That was the old me, the predictable David, the husband who would have stormed back home, demanded answers, begged for explanations, maybe even convinced himself that it was just a mistake. But I was done being that man. So, instead of breaking down, I started planning. Amanda thought she had options, that she could keep me as a safety net while testing the waters with Jake. Fine. She could have him. But she was about to learn that when you gamble with people's lives, sometimes the house wins. The first thing I did was secure everything that was mine. I went to my bank first thing in the morning and closed our joint accounts. Every penny that was rightfully mine moved. Credit cards canceled. Her name removed from everything I could think of. Utilities switched to her name. The lease already taken care of. I had paid for our house outright a year ago, but I'd never told Amanda one important detail. Her name was never on the deed. She had assumed, and now she was about to find out how wrong she was. Next, I went to my lawyer. I had never been the kind of guy to think about legal battles. I assumed, like an idiot, that my marriage was solid enough to never need that kind of preparation. But lucky for me, my best friend Mark was a divorce attorney. And when I told him everything, he just leaned back in his chair, smirked, and said, "Man, I've been waiting for this day." See? Mark never liked Amanda. He tolerated her for my sake. But he saw the red flags I'd ignored. So when I told him I wanted to hit her where it hurt, he was more than happy to help. "First things first," he said, sliding some papers across the desk. "You need to file before she does. That way, you control the narrative." I read over the documents, feeling a strange sense of peace settle over me. This was it, the official beginning of the end. By the time I left his office, I had a solid plan. Amanda had spent our entire marriage believing she was in charge, that I was nothing more than a loyal, boring provider who would always be there, no matter how little she respected me. She had no idea that the man she'd underestimated was about to burn her little empire to the ground. That evening, I did something I knew would shake her to her core. I went home. Not to move back in, but to deliver the first real shock to her system. I pulled into the driveway just as the sun was setting. The house was dark, except for the soft glow of the living room TV. I didn't even have to check the cameras to know she was inside, probably curled up on the couch, drinking another bottle of wine, still trying to figure out what her next move was. I didn't knock. I had my key. I walked right in. The second she saw me, she froze. She was sitting there in one of my old college t-shirts, probably an attempt to make herself look pitiful, vulnerable. A glass of wine sat half empty on the coffee table. Her phone was in her lap, the screen still lit up from a conversation I was sure was with Jake. She stared at me like I was a ghost. "David." Her voice was breathless, careful. I shut the door behind me and leaned against it. "Evening." She sat up a little straighter. "Where have you been?" I raised an eyebrow. "Where have I been?" That's rich, coming from someone who spent last night playing house with our neighbor. Her eyes widened. "What are you talking about?" I pulled out my phone, opened the security footage, and hit play. There, clear as day, was Amanda, sitting way too close to Jake, their bodies angled toward each other, his hand on her knee. Then, the kiss. I watched her face drain of color. She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. "David, I held up a hand. "Stop. Just stop." She shut her mouth so fast I almost laughed. I stepped forward, watching as she shrank into the couch. Good. Let her feel a fraction of what I had felt. You really thought I wasn't watching, huh? That I'd just walk away and leave you to do whatever the hell you wanted? That I wouldn't check? She swallowed. It wasn't what it looked like. I actually laughed. Oh, come on, Amanda. Don't insult me. At least have the decency to own up to it. She stood up suddenly, her wine glass tipping over in the process. Fine. You want the truth? Yes, I kissed him. But I was drunk. I was emotional. You disappeared on me, and I cut her off with a slow clap. Wow. So, just to be clear, you tell your best friend that you hate being with me. You say I'm nothing more than a safety net. You go behind my back the second you think I'm not coming back, and now it's my fault? Her jaw clenched. You're twisting things. No, Amanda, I said, my voice calm but cold. I'm finally seeing things clearly. For the first time since I had known her, Amanda looked truly, genuinely afraid, not because I was angry, not because I had caught her, but because for the first time, she had no control over what happened next. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the divorce papers, setting them on the coffee table. Her eyes flickered to them, then back to me. Pack your things, I said simply. You've got a week. And then, without waiting for a response, I turned and walked out the door, leaving her standing there, speechless, as her world crashed down around her. I didn't wait for her response. I didn't need one. The moment I walked out that door, leaving Amanda alone with those divorce papers, I knew I had done something she never expected. I had broken her before she had a chance to break me. I drove away feeling weightless, free, like I had just shed 20 years of chains I hadn't even realized were there. Amanda had spent our marriage treating me like a safety net, something stable and boring she could lean on while she toyed with other possibilities. She thought I would always be there, waiting in the wings, no matter what she did. She had no idea what it felt like to be discarded, but she was about to learn. I checked into a better motel this time. Something clean, something comfortable. I was done punishing myself by sleeping in places that felt as hollow as my past. I took a long, hot shower, letting the water wash away the years of pretending I was happy. Then I slept. And when I woke up, I saw that Amanda had completely lost her mind. My phone was flooded with missed calls, unread messages, and voicemails. Not just from Amanda, but from mutual friends, even her parents. She had gone nuclear. I scrolled through the messages, already knowing the pattern before I even read them. First, the denial. Amanda, David, we don't have to do this. I don't want a divorce. Please, let's talk. Then the anger. Amanda, you're being a child, running away like this, taking all the money. Are you trying to ruin me? Then the manipulation. Amanda, I made a mistake, okay? We both made mistakes. But after everything we've been through, you're really going to throw it all away. And finally, the desperation. Amanda, please just call me. I'm begging you. I smirked, shaking my head. Amanda had spent years treating me like an afterthought. And now she was begging for me to notice her. I took my time responding, let her suffer in the silence a little longer. When I finally texted back, I kept it simple. Me. Nothing to talk about. You've got a week. I could almost hear her scream through the phone. But that wasn't the end of it. Because Amanda, being Amanda, wasn't just going to accept this. No, she had to try and fix it. And by fix, I mean manipulate, deceive, and lie her way back into control. The next morning, I got a call from an unknown number. Normally, I wouldn't answer, but something told me I should. Hello? David? I recognized the voice immediately. It was her mother. Hey, Karen. I kept my tone polite but distant. Didn't expect to hear from you. She sighed. I had to call. Amanda is devastated. She told me everything. I leaned back against my motel bed, smirking. Did she? Yes, Karen continued, her voice thick with sympathy. She told me you misunderstood everything, that you overheard something out of context, and now you're throwing away your marriage over nothing. I laughed, a full, genuine, amused laugh. Out of context, I repeated. Karen, I literally watched your daughter kiss another man on camera. Silence. Then a hesitant, she said it was a mistake. I shook my head. Karen, let me ask you something. If your husband disappeared for 2 days, emptied the bank account, and then showed you footage of you kissing another man, would you call it a mistake? She didn't answer right away. When she finally did, her voice was quieter. I don't want to see this end in anger, David. You've always been good to her. Can't you just give her another chance? I sighed. Karen, I respect you, but this isn't your problem to fix. Amanda made her bed. Now she gets to lie in it. She hesitated, then finally sighed. I understand. Just be kind, David. I hung up without answering, because Amanda had never been kind to me, and now kindness wasn't part of the equation. I spent the next 2 days tying up loose ends. I filed the official divorce papers, forwarded Amanda's belongings to her family's house, and made sure everything was legally airtight. I didn't want anything tying me to that woman anymore. And then, just when I thought I had seen it all, Amanda made her final move. It was 10 p.m. I was packing up my motel room, getting ready to leave for good, when there was a knock at the door. A hesitant, almost timid knock. I opened it, already knowing who it was. There she stood, Amanda. She looked wrecked, hair messy, mascara smudged, wearing one of my old hoodies like she thought it would make me nostalgic. Her eyes were puffy, her lips slightly parted like she was about to say something but didn't know how to start. I crossed my arms. What do you want? She exhaled shakily. I needed to see you. I didn't respond. She bit her lip, stepping closer. David, please, just talk to me. I know I screwed up. I know I took you for granted. But I don't want to lose you. I don't. She stopped, her voice cracking. And for a split second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered. I remembered the way she had laughed about tolerating me. The way she had kissed another man before I was even gone for a full day. The way she had expected me to roll over and let her walk all over me. And any sympathy I had. Gone. You already lost me, I said simply. Tears welled up in her eyes. You don't mean that. I leaned against the doorframe, shaking my head. Amanda, do you even know why you're here? Do you actually want me? Or do you just want to win? Her lips trembled, and in that moment, she knew. She knew I had figured her out. She knew she had lost. She opened her mouth, probably to say something dramatic. Maybe another apology, maybe another desperate play. But I didn't give her the chance. I stepped back and shut the door. Firm, final. And this time, I didn't look back. The moment I shut that door, I felt something shift inside me. It was like I had just closed the final chapter of a book I had been trapped in for far too long. Amanda had spent years making me believe that I was nothing more than a background character in my own life. someone to be tolerated, used, and discarded when she was done. But standing there, listening to the muffled sound of her footsteps retreating, I realized the truth. I was free. I packed up the last of my things, checked out of the motel, and hit the road with no particular destination in mind. For the first time in years, I wasn't rushing home to someone who didn't appreciate me. I wasn't worried about making someone else happy at the expense of my own sanity. I was living for me. I spent the next few months rebuilding myself. At first, it was strange not having to check in with someone, not having my days dictated by someone else's moods. But then I started enjoying it. I picked up old hobbies that Amanda had once rolled her eyes at. I traveled, took weekend trips just because I could. I reconnected with friends I had lost touch with, people who told me they had always known Amanda was bad for me, but didn't know how to tell me. And the best part, I started to thrive. Amanda, on the other hand, wasn't so lucky. The divorce went through without a hitch, thanks to my lawyer. She had nothing to stand on. No shared assets, no leverage, nothing. She tried to fight it at first, probably hoping she could manipulate me into changing my mind. But when she realized that I was serious, that I wasn't coming back, she unraveled. Jake, the neighbor she thought was her backup plan, disappeared the moment he realized she was really single. Turns out, he liked the thrill of sneaking around with a married woman. But commitment, that wasn't part of the deal. She tried to call me, text me, even sent handwritten letters, but I never responded, because Amanda wasn't my problem anymore. A year later, I found myself sitting on a beach, watching the sunset, a cold beer in my hand. I wasn't rich, I wasn't wildly successful, but I was happy. Genuinely, peacefully happy. And that was something Amanda could never take away from me. Because